if they're an ethical emotivist, it can come
Hello.
down. Oh,
Hello.
hey Jay.
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Good. How are
Good.
you?
We're talking
I'm
about
just
the.
joining in for a bit because my flight got delayed.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah.
AJ, this is James, and James, this is AJ. You guys can like introduce yourselves.
Oh, hello. I am AJ. I am a computer engineering student at the University of California, San Diego. I'm interested in like neurotechnology, computing, GPUs, and the like.
Very
Nice to meet you.
James. I am very interested in economics and how the government and philosophy and all the like. Love philosophy. I have a freshman at Harvard. I live in LA, so very close. Love San Diego. Um, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
AJ, to catch you up, we're talking about. Oh, is James talking?
Oh no, go ahead.
James, you're like very quiet.
My mic.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
AJ, to catch you up, we're talking about something called ethical emotivism. So it's
Hmm.
the idea that when you are presented with a moral dilemma, sure, you can use logic and reasoning and list the pros and cons, but when it really comes down to the fundamental choice you're going to make, what causes you to choose one choice over another with ethical emotism is just the emotions you feel, like completely arbitrary, whether you feel this way or that way. That's the concept.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I might just lurk for a bit and see where this conversation is going because I don't have too much input on, especially the emotional side of it. But I am curious to see where this goes.
Okay, so I was talking about in Nazi Germany at the peak of Hitler. If there is an ethical emotivist, he's a man that is claiming that his
Wait,
decisions.
James, can you go on mute? Sorry for interrupting, but I can like hear everything. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So Nazi Germany, there's a man who's an ethical emotivist, and so his decisions are fueled by emotion when it really comes down to it. And all of his
Hmm.
friends and family have this fascist ideology, and as he grows up and he gets presented with these moral dilemmas, he can still use logic and reasoning to disfy what his family and friends believes if he wants to. But then it breaks down to the fundamental decision that he's going to make: what is right and what is wrong. And this decision is triggered by the emotions he feels. And what triggers the emotions he feels is the philosophy that's underlying his actions. So, the philosophy he grew up with all around him, to some degree, would be influencing his decisions and the emotion he feels. Unless he broke down ethical emotism to the
Hmm.
fundamentals and questioned what everyone else believed and what he believed and formed his own philosophy, but then it would no longer be ethical emotism.
Got you. So, okay, continue.
Yeah, so in that case, when he makes decisions, from my perspective, it would just be a kind of a cumulant of what all the Nazis around him believe and feel, and he would inherently believe and feel the same thing. So, what do you guys think of that? Kyle, you were talking about ethical emotivism.
Yeah, that makes sense to me that like, we can primarily be influenced by our emotions in terms of morals, a lot of the time. But it's important to think about, what's causing those emotions, what's causing those reactions within yourself, and how your history, how your experiences shape that.
Yeah, most definitely.
Too that I guess motivism doesn't dictate whether something is moral. It just says that what people feel is moral is shaped by their experiences, what they've lived up with, the people they've surrounded themselves, everything they've heard from their birth. And it's not necessarily that the decision making breaks down to emotion, but that everything what's justifying, those decisions the kind of what you're saying, Max, like the underlying philosophy that people hold. That's what at the bottom, at the core of what their actions are from. At least if they're acting rationally, or in accordance to. People can act very mysteriously too.
Yeah, if you look at it from a lens that you can still choose an underlying philosophy, then be an ethical emotivist, it kind of makes sense. Because I can still have my philosophy and frameworks, then if I'm presented with two decisions that I truly do not know which one is the correct choice, I would inherently just choose the one I feel like is better, like completely random.
Yeah, like we based on what we feel is better. Like we have a subjective bias towards, and without us even feeling or recognizing or being conscious of it too.
Yeah, that might make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even if like not 50-50 chances, Max, just like when you're going, about your day making decisions. Um, it's like a lot of the time you don't have to think through reason and logic. It's just like an instinct. It's just like maybe an emotion, maybe it's like more
So you're right.
subconscious, but it's still what's there.
And it's like the classic example of emotivism is, well, the moral objectivist says, well, what they're doing in Nazi Germany is wrong. Killing people is wrong. And the
Hmm.
motivist
Mhm.
says that, well, yes, it's wrong, but it's because we feel that emotional distaste of murder. Not necessarily that like murder is necessarily wrong, but we have been socialized to grow up with that. I mean, there's some cultures that even sacrifice and do believe it's right. And that's not to say that they are right, even like epistemically, not that they're wrong, but it's what we've been socialized to believe. And it doesn't dictate any belief to be correct more than the other. It just kind of prescribes the way we decide what is moral.
Oh, I agree with you.
I agree.
Well said. Going back to the objectivism, do you think there could be an objective morality?
The question.
Yeah?
Sorry, I was just said what a question that is.
Oh.
Who knows? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like, for myself, throughout my life, as I've gained more knowledge, my ideas about existence, friendships, family have drastically changed. So my set of decisions of what I do is right and wrong in every moment has vastly changed by the amount of knowledge I had. If there is a state of all knowledge in the universe and I gained that state of being all knowing, I would say that is objective morality. AJ.
just be actual.
I agree with the take. That, okay, sorry, I hear myself, and that's tripping me out. I get very distracted from that. Yeah, I think I agree with the take that like cultures do like influence morality, but there are some things that are like objectively wrong. That I think just as humans we have this like perception of what's right and wrong just through that, right? And like though it can have slight variations between cultures, there is a little bit of like objectiveness in there. Though I don't know the exact like extent of it per se. At least that's how I like to view it.
Bro, I was thinking about this and I was trying to write down phrases or ideas that all of humanity could agree were right and wrong, and I couldn't come up with anything.
I think
Yes.
okay, for example, there are some cultures that, for example, are like quote unquote okay with like I don't know, like child trafficking, whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's that would be like child marriage, but like just abuse. I think every culture thinks child abuse is wrong, for example. I can't think of a single culture that's okay with child abuse, like in the conventional way of like physical abuse, right? That, for example, would be one I could just think about off the top of my head.
How about child
Like,
abuse for like scientific research? Like some people would consider like giving. No, there was a lot of experiments where they would like isolate
but
twins and all this stuff.
those are like a few people. You can't say that murder is like looked upon fondly. Um, just because there are murderers in the world, right? I'm saying like
Like,
objectively, if like that society found out about like what happened, then they would get apprehended for that, which is just like which I would like to think about it, which I would like to think is the truth at least.
I feel like we're like we are all we're all evolutionarily coded to dislike murder or have a distaste because it harms our chances of survival and reproduction. And so I feel like there's a distinction to like saying something is categorically or objectively wrong is a little bit different from saying that every human being is coded to feel a certain way when like I think this just proves the motivist thesis where it's like yeah most people don't like murder because they just feel bad about it or feel like some sort of a that doesn't denote any sort of moral significance. It just signifies that we're all kind of very similar in our human biology.
I mean, as objective, do you just have to like gain the favor of like most humans to be an objective truth? Because I mean, yeah, think about like what if you're like an avid environmentalist who thinks humans are like a cancer and should just be eliminated. Like it's a rare opinion. It's a very anti-human opinion, but you know, if they're caring about the earth more than humans, like who's to say that they're wrong?
I just don't know how we would deem anything as objectively right or wrong. Because I could see everything that we're saying now being disproved. So I think it goes back to what Kyle says. It depends on how you define objective right or objective wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I could say like objectively, like my computer is made of silicone, but like even within that statement, I have words that are defined by humans, like computer,
I can give one
silicone.
example of an objective morality. Is that anything that does not help the advancement of a certain society is going to be looked down upon by that society, even like or at least if it is viewed as something that is kind of like not advancing that certain society. So like for example, even like they shun Galileo for discovering like the sun or whatever,
Uh huh.
right? Because that would have caused mass chaos within the Catholic Church, which would technically hinder that society's growth in the short term, which was looked down upon, which would be an example of like a counterexample to what I just said. So it's like you have to define like there's a lot of things you need to define before you can actually I don't know, decide what an objective morality is. You know what I mean? Which makes it like pretty tough in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Is there anything that we can say is objectively true?
Um, I can say that I objectively think murder is bad.
Mm.
That as long as we're using human-made language, I don't think it's possible because
Mm,
I mean, if we look into linguistics, right? Very interesting. Like themselves are approximations of thoughts and ideas, but they are never going to be perfect. Even what I am, what do I constitute? I mean, am I two brains in one, the split brain, or am I just one consciousness united by a soul? What is it? What is a state of being? Because it's always changing. Um, I feel very like we can. I think at least to the extent that it's useful to have conversations and we know what we're talking about, but unless we have that kind of neurotechnology where we can have that high fidelity thought transfer, we are not really communicating most effectively. Though I would say, is the added utility from getting that fullness of thoughts and ideas necessary, or where it's good enough? That's a whole different question.
No, it's a very excellent question because it plays with the intent of the words and the feeling of their experience. Like if couples were able to feel, if couples and arguments could feel what the other person was feeling, it would reach a much faster conclusion, a mutual understanding. Is that more objective?
Mm.
Like people speaking through neurotechnology? Is that
No, I feel like a lot of people can tell like what people think. It's just that's just like a human grid type situation.
like you can tell what I think?
Like the basic gist of or like the I guess the basic emotions of what somebody's like thinking about is a better way to put it. Like if somebody has like that like sad face and is talking about some depressing things, I'm like, yeah, this guy's probably kind of sad, like something like that. So it's like there are some things as human that we can just tell is objectively true about that other person, unless the other person is like a god tier actor, which could also be true, right? But it like it's some there's some innate human thing there that allows us to have like a good like read on people, right?
Isn't that more probabilistic than objective?
It yes, but like I watch which point do you like differentiate those two? Because I don't think anything is fully objective, you know.
I would say that something exists is fully objective.
But okay, let me give you an example, right? Like okay, Rishi told me about this example with the ship of Theseus, right?
Ah.
If you've replaced every single part in the ship of Theseus, does that ship objectively exist or not? Even though it's technically there.
It exists.
It just
I
seems
actually don't know
definitional.
the answer to that question.
Like you can define the ship of Theseus as anything. Like really, we're just assembling particles in different ways and we're placing meaning on top of the particles.
So is that the idea of the ship of Theseus that exists, or the actual ship that exists then?
The idea, like how you define it.
Yeah, the actual
So the
ship
actual
exists too,
so the
though.
physical ship still exists then.
Depending on how you define it.
But there is still a definition out there that makes it not exist, in even if it has a physical form.
Yes.
With that logic,
Yes.
see, like that
Yeah,
kind of
that
shows. It's like
wouldn't be objective, though.
there is no like good like it's a slippery slope. Like trying to define these things, you know.
Yeah, so are you saying in that sense that we can't define anything objective because of what James was saying about human language, that it's just
You know,
something
you have to be able to draw the line between like what is actually like our definition of objective and the actual definition of objective. You know, because there is some things that are just the way, like okay, for example, some things can happen 99.999% of the chance
Mhm.
it's going to happen, and we're not going to assume it's not going to happen, right? For example, that even though there is a world that it's not going to happen, we're not going to take that into account because that would not be helpful to us and our goals.
Does a shape with four sides objectively exist?
Yes.
So there are some things that objectively exist.
Yes and no, because there is no 2D shape that exists within a 3D plane. You can't make something exist in a 2D plane like that. So yes and no. Once again, yes and no.
Wait, what do you mean by that? You can't make a 2D thing exist in a 3D plane.
Because there's no such thing as a purely two-dimensional object within a three-dimensional plane. Like that simply does not exist.
Okay, then like a cube.
A cube, once again, that cube probably has a little bit of a mismatch. Every side is not equal. So like it's like there is caveats to like every single little thing out there.
Okay, does
That is my
math
point. So
objectively exist?
if you want to work with the definition,
Yeah.
you have to already like assume that definition is flawed
Mm-hmm.
if you want to actually like progress in any work whatsoever.
So you have to take your definition as false to make progress?
Yeah, it's an axiom, right?
Yeah. But can't there be true axioms?
No, because like 1 + 1 = 2 is an axiom, but we haven't actually proven that 1 + 1 = 2. Just as an example.
Yeah, we haven't. We haven't. There's a guy called Bertram Russell who spent like 10 years,
Yeah, I heard
2,000
about that.
pages just trying to prove 1 plus 1 equals 2. But
And
okay,
he was not able to do it.
let's
Wait, what
say,
is like there? There's an official proof for 1 + 1 = 2.
No, but they use
Like,
axiom. They use the axiom of numbers in that proof.
okay.
So like, there's no proof without axioms.
okay, if we gain all the knowledge in the universe, do you see it as a possibility that we can define what the true axioms are?
Yeah, because then we know all the laws of physics and we know how everything works.
Yeah, yeah. So there are true axioms, but we don't know what they are.
Maybe. Like I don't know. Like
Yeah.
that's a question beyond my scope.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's just a possibility that we can't say there is
hmm
true or false axioms. That there.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Every single definition we need to work with, we need to understand that there's caveats, and we can't be like, okay, but this can happen, but this can happen. Because yes, there is those buts, but they're not relevant to the conversation or to the point we're making, right? Because if we keep thinking
Yeah.
about those buts, if ands or buts,
Mm-hmm.
especially if they're like very like minute edge cases, then we're just simply not going to get anywhere, right?
But I guess
So
we
how
need to.
can we? Go ahead.
Oh, but we would need to choose the correct axiom to have a conversation with, because like, let's say we assume that elephants are dogs, and we all agree upon this, and we start having a discussion trying to build things from this contradiction essentially. If we never go back and correct,
But we know just logically elephants are not dogs.
yeah.
So that doesn't matter. So that like once again that example is not it doesn't really matter in reality.
Isn't there something good about going back and checking your assumptions? Because you can like, even
Yes,
if they
hundred
are
percent,
flawed, you
hundred
can
percent.
find better
If you get an
ones.
answer that doesn't align with like what you like assume it to be, then I would say yes, there is a good reason to. And even if you do get an answer that aligns with that, then yes, it's always a good practice to go back and check your work, 100%. But at some point, it becomes you slow down progress by doing that. That's a better way to put it. If you keep getting fixated on one aspect of an issue and you keep going back to it, then you're not going to even like move on to the other aspects of that issue or even move on to other issues in general. So like there has to be a time frame within like where you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to spend 2 days making sure that like what I'm saying is true, or just something along those lines, right?
Yeah, how would you define when you should, I guess, take action and keep building progress versus keep looking at your initial construction?
I actually don't know. Like that is I haven't like really worked with that, so I wouldn't like know the actual answer to that. But what I will say is, if it's a very obvious hindrance to your work, then at that point, it's probably time to chill.
Hmm. Yeah, I would agree with you. Oh, good point.
Yeah, at least that's how I like to like proceed with my own like research and work or whatever.
Hmm.
Because at some point, it's doing more harm than good. Obviously, curiosity is wonderful. It's really good to be curious, but it gets to a point.
Yeah, it very much does. You need to be able to go into both lanes, man.
Yep.
Have you guys been thinking about anything related to philosophy lately?
Back to the. You guys hear me? Hello?
Okay, it's better. Ish.
Yeah, you're very, very quiet still.
Yes. No improvement.
No, it's quieter somehow. I think he'll be joining back.
I think so. I don't think he rage quit.
James is cool.
Test. Hello.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's way better.
Oh my god. Okay, I connected to my AirPods. I've been thinking about artificial intelligence as it obviously it's nowhere near replicating human thinking, but if we have the capability of creating thinking conscious agents, what is a little scary to me is the ability to create massive suffering digitally. And I think there potentially could be an increasing need for some sort of digital bill of rights where entities or some sort of beings that have some conscious existence. Whether we can prove that or not, it's very difficult. But if we can, I think that we as human beings are an amalgamation of different codings and chemical pathways. And if we can recreate that with zeros and ones, I think that if they are truly conscious, I think their experiences matter too. And the ability to wield massive suffering in one GPU is kind of crazy. So that's something I'm thinking about. It's a very specific scenario, actually.
I love specific scenarios. Like this is going to be definitely a problem we're going to have in our future. Like in my bedroom, I can just start torturing AIs if I wanted to. Like it,
Yeah, that is if they don't kill us all.
that's true.
And like if we program some sort of pain or suffering like response into them, which is another
Yeah,
thing that would it seems kind of difficult for me.
they're already showing signs of like survival instincts. Whether that, you know, indicates a pleasure or pain, I'm not sure.
Wait,
If you're
But
interested
yeah,
in that type of thing, I have a recommended book or like an article you should read. It's called AI 2027.
uh,
I was talking to
oh
Rishi about
hell no.
this, but it's like a book about like the possibility that AI gains like actual consciousness and has self-preservation and like the reality and how we should and could deal with that and the
The predicted
implications of that
reality.
on a worldwide scale. Yeah.
No, yeah, I watched the video series that was terrifying based on Project 2020, or not Project, AI, or whatever, 2027. And it's nothing
Yeah.
short of terrifying.
You guys think it's going according to plan right now? Like what the 2027 guy predicted?
I don't, I don't want to know. Wait, I
Man,
hope that AI just financially has what's it called? The bubble pops. Like, I'm actually, like, I feel like I had this kind of existential crisis. And there's some people I've talked to that are like also very universalist at Harvard that are very much I don't know, I feel like it's very like a disparate perspective, but it's like if AI can continue the mission of discovering all cosmic knowledge without my presence, why does it matter if I exist?
mm-hmm.
And I feel like I think that like I kind of care about my existence and that would suck. Um, But B, like, if AI isn't coded well enough where it's just, like large language models without that kind of cognition, it could very easily go off track or get, obsessed with the wrong thing or
Mm.
not carry out the goal of discovering all cosmic knowledge. So I think that insofar as we can't create perfect AI, I think that is unlikely. But I don't
yeah.
know what you think. Like I feel like there is like an interview, I think it's like Peter Thiel, who's being asked, "Do you care about the future of the human race?" And he it's like it's very much in these tech circles where people who are very much into AI don't really have a faith in humanity anymore. One of my friends who's working
Mm.
at OpenAI who graduated
Mm.
um just last year, he we had a conversation where he was like, it's very much of the universalist idea where it's like I really want just humanity to discover more knowledge and progress and discover more information so we can do more with it. But as to whether my own personal existence matters, it's unclear to me. I'm very unsure why I matter more than AI does. And if AI can do that job better than I do, what reason do I have for existence?
Because I mean, if AI was fundamentally created to serve you, right? So like that's the
Not to
point.
serve
AI is a
us. Not to serve us. Independently AI gathering information and collecting data for the purpose of, discovering all cosmic knowledge. Then what's our purpose?
our purpose was to build AI. We already finished our purpose.
and then
And if
offense.
what you're saying is correct.
But it comes down
I
if AI is conscious. If it's this like deterministic hollow shell of a system, even if it gains all the knowledge in the universe, will it understand it? Will it be aware of it? And we don't really have an answer to that.
Yeah, that's my only thing. Keeping my sanity.
But in the case,
yeah, there,
oh, Kyle, go on.
yeah. For me, it comes down to like I think of the hive mind, and I think of like why its potential is so high, right? Even if there are like a bunch of potential issues too, is that we're combining perspectives into one utilized force, right? We're combining like all these different ways of thinking and being able to see what works in what situations and being able to explore, like reach out different areas and like test what works. And I think AI, even if it like is conscious at a point and is like, a universalist AI, there's still something. I think there will still be something valuable about humans. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's our capacity for emotion or intuition or connection with others. I'm not sure, but I think the more a really universalist AI would want as many different perspectives, as many different like nodes um, working towards that goal as possible.
Doesn't that depend on the development of the AI? If it's given a certain
Yeah,
subset of knowledge, it might be better for it just to kill all humans right away.
yeah, more efficient, but not better in the long run if it really wants like. And that's another thing. Like AI, like that. I'm assuming like a perfectly like this is like the best AI they can make, and it's like fully dedicated to this. Like, are we still useful? And I would say yes, but you're saying like, what if the AI is like programmed in some other way that might turn into a dead end? Like, that's another huge issue. We can't really, I think, be sure.
It seems like the only issue to solve if the AI is conscious or not, and maintaining all this vast variety of human perspectives in our biology, is to inherently merge with the AI. Because otherwise, we just become utterly useless, like how James was saying. And AJ, in that case, we would just all die.
Would be, yeah, useless. I mean, that's like Elon Musk's perspective, actually, where he is trying to become. I think it's transhuman. He's a transhumanist, where
Mm.
we have to merge with the machines and adapt with them instead of being, washed away and becoming old and archaic.
Yeah, we really don't want it becoming like a survival battle if they're really intelligent, because yeah.
Yeah, no,
Would you guys merge with machine?
unclear. I don't know if that's my motivist speaking or my logical side speaking. I don't know.
There's certain
Uh,
people that argue that we've already merged with machines in a way. Like we have Apple Watches, we're directly
no,
connected to the internet.
not my brain cells, not my neurons in my brains.
But it still is connected to your neurons in your brains. You're receiving photons and different input, which is influencing your brain directly.
Not the kind of simulation that's so. This is very, I think, limited. That's such a invasive, like the kinds of combinations of technology and fusing of technology we're talking about, like the more invasive, injecting or fully transform. I don't know, like
So if it was non-invasive, would it be okay?
no, I didn't say it'd be bad or good or
Oh,
bad. I'm
okay. I
not
just mean
prescribing
like
some sort of judgment.
not as
I'm
Yes,
extreme.
just
yeah.
saying, as a matter of like if we're having this factual debate about is what we're currently living through like technology infusing with us, I don't think that it would be accurate to say that.
I don't know. I think it's a matter of scale, but we're just like lower
Yeah,
down now.
Yeah, I think it's so marginal, our level of connectedness with technology in comparison to the degree that we could be connected. That it's almost, it's almost, it doesn't make sense to say we're connected with technology when we could be, we could literally be like plugged into a computer. I think that constitutes connection with technology. Whether or not we're minutely connected, sure, potentially.
So would you say it's more of a spectrum of being connected to technology, or more black and white? You're connected or you're not.
It's definitely a spectrum.
A
I think
spectrum.
everything, truth lies on a
Yeah.
spectrum.
Wait, so
I mean, at least as,
at what point
sorry,
of the spectrum would you say you would be connected to technology?
no, that's a good question. I do not have epistemic
Hmm.
access to that.
That's a that's a cool way of saying I don't know.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I
I
just said
like
I don't know.
that.
I do not have epistemic access to that question. To my preferences.
As society's moving, though, I think we're just gonna slowly be moving on the spectrum, and we won't even realize when the
Probably.
big jump happens.
It'll probably become more and more normalized. I mean, I think, well, I was surprised because I thought that Neuralink would be working a lot faster, but it's, I mean, obviously scales exponential. So as we're
Mm.
starting, it's going to be slow and it's not going to be noticeable. And it'll happen very quickly once the exponential growth happens. But I think that I think it's more, it's going to be like an introduction of products where people are going to start to be able to integrate stuff like, I think it would start in healthcare, right? So people lost their hearing, it'll probably be something that grants them that, or someone who's paralyzed in the legs. I think that's how it'll start, and it'll grow from there, I presume.
Yeah. Hey, that's
And
why
then it'll become
Neuralink
more
is
and more
so slow
normalized.
too.
Yeah, it needs to get that kind of societal buy-in before it massively grows, and that happens, you know, over time, not
Yeah,
overnight.
and the safety, like especially for medical, it needs to be
Oh
really
yeah,
on point before it gets, approval for further stuff. Which honestly is,
yeah,
is good because
yeah. Because it's not. It's kind of. I wouldn't say irreversible, but it's pretty hard to reverse. Damage that happens in the brain. It's very difficult to undo harm. So I think that. I mean, especially when you're with something as precious as your experience. I think that we shouldn't play around with that.
yeah.
I would argue we should have less safety. Right now on Neuralink, there's a waiting list of over 10,000 people with ALS where they're unable to move their entire body. They're paralyzed. So there's these people,
Hmm.
their entire life, their entire perspective is just kind of sitting there being a couch potato, not being able to do anything.
Being a couch potato is crazy.
But there's 10,000 people on this list. And inherently, if I am was one of these people, my life has no purpose. I am depressed. I am bored. I want anything to happen. I would assume a large subset of these 10,000 people would be more willing to do experimental testing. It's the same thing with a lot of people that get sentenced to life in prison, that inherently they're just going to sit there until they die. Or people in old folks' home, they're going to sit there until they die. There's all these subsets of people with purposeless lives, and a lot of them would be more willing to more experimental testing. And I think very much with neurotechnology research, we could speed it up exponentially if we loosen the laws to the people that will give consent to dedicate to a more purposeful life to help more people like them.
This is actually something that really scared me when I was talking to Rishi, because I feel like I agree with you that if you have less to lose, then you're willing to take on more risk. But it's like I remember we were talking about the hypothetical hive mind, and he was like, "I will take refugees who have no other choice, who will die, and add them to the hive mind,
What?
or people who are on the streets and homeless and put them in the hive mind." Because of the overall philosophy underlying goal is to create the hive mind, it's worth it to have casualties or people die. It was just very, I think, like I, when we talk about things about like consent and where people are more likely to consent to risky things because they're in worse situations, I'd just be a little careful, because it is it. As much as I don't agree with the idea of like words being offensive, I think it rings emotivist bells. if that makes sense.
That's very true. Wait, what was Rishi saying about the homeless people?
Like people who have no other choice should be like coerced into the hive mind to make it grow. And it would probably, even if you didn't have buy-in from people, you could get it elsewhere, like in Sudan, where hundreds of thousands of people are in a famine, in a civil. Like, I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah. It makes you kind
I,
of wonder, like, where's the line between, like, you are free to make this choice by yourself versus being coerced into making that choice. Like, because you could take a prisoner or like a homeless person that's like literally starving and could say, "Hey, join," and they still have like a choice, right?
yeah,
But they don't want to die. Like that's a big, a big thing that's like in their minds, and a regular person might not
yeah.
might think about it very differently. So
Is it a choice?
How can you give someone an adequately fair choice?
Yeah, I think, and this is actually, I was thinking about this. Like, what does free will actually constitute? Because actually, another Alex O'Connor take, but free will doesn't necessarily exist if you grant that either something is random or not random. If it's random, then it was out of your ability to choose. And if it is not predetermined, well, then whatever circumstance you're acting in probably was predetermined by something before that or by some sort of emotional chemical things in your brain, which you don't necessarily have the most control, even if you perceive free will or thinking or thoughts. Um, but I think that this is actually an argument in favor of like universalism, which is like consent is maximized by information, which is to say that like you like consent doesn't exist if it's uninformed consent, so you don't have all the information about what you're about to decide upon. So going into hive mind actually grants you all that information and knowledge, which is the ultimate form of consent. um I don't know.
No, that's a really excellent argument for joining the hive mind that you brought up. And then, okay, but
But
James,
would you be able to leave?
the hive mind,
Yeah.
it would you be able to leave if the once you the best way to explain this is that our brain is made up of multiple smaller networks that create our sense of self, our sense of identity. So,
Hmm.
really, we're just particles arranged in such a way to be conscious, to be aware, to be an agent. And when you connect two minds with neurotechnology, you would be connecting the electrical impulses of one mind to the electrical impulses of another mind. And by doing that, it's very similar when you connect, like, if you connected the left brain to the right brain. So essentially, you're just having more particles be able to communicate with each other. And from this, when two people are connected, inherently they would become one being. It would no longer be like guy one and guy two. It would just be one entity that's experiencing like both guys. So in a sense, if one of these guys wanted to leave, they wouldn't really exist because they would be one entity. But if the entity itself of the accumulation of the two guys did not want to be together anymore, the entity could inherently like split the guys and they could go back.
Hmm.
yeah,
Wait,
it's kind of
so
like. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. You go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, it's just kind of like would you split yourself kind of question.
Hmm.
At that point.
Oh, Kyle, that's a good
Um,
question. It reframes it. Like, if you join a hive mind when you want to leave, it's like asking the same question. Like, would you want to split your own brain in half?
yeah, and I think the answer would be yes. At times, I think the hive mind would do some experimentation, but that's just me.
I have a question. So, if someone is coerced into a hive mind and doesn't want to join that hive mind, but does, if there is a greater force within the rest of the hive mind to have this person stay, does that decision or does that like will disappear, or does it just get smashed, or what happens to dissent?
So, essentially, it's similar to a philosophical argument. if we imagined that there is 20 Nazis that agree, and then one guy that's very logical, well-suited man like Alex O'Connor. If Alex O'Connor joined the hive mind with 20 Nazis, it wouldn't be like the masses would win. They would consider every perspective equally, and whatever is the most logical and whatever is the most best for all of them would be the result because they consider everyone. So inherently, if we take the assumption that Alex O'Connor is more logical, which I believe, the hive mind would be a result of more Alex O'Connor's ideas as the foundation.
Assuming that the 20 Nazis don't overpower that kind of processing power with their bias, subjective beliefs, and thought processes.
This seems like optimal, but how do you create that?
Because we were just connecting electrical impulses. It would be like it's hard to imagine what the experience of a hive mind would be like, but it would be like if our brains were fully connected and communicating. Essentially, the two of our brains would come to some form of conclusion of what to do.
Does that not combine our experiences or personal, happenings?
Like our subjective consciousness?
Yes, yeah.
There's a few different things that could happen. We could still have individual experiences of consciousness, but there could be some form of collective just knowing throughout everyone, like shared knowledge in a way. Or it could be some other type of universal awareness that connects the people and it diverges into the individuals.
What does that mean? Sorry.
What'd you say?
What does that mean?
The first one or the second one?
Both. What does it mean to diverge into individuals? What does it mean? I guess it's just very difficult to envision this, obviously, because it's just such a foreign idea.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I've spent like days
We
upon
kind of need our
days
hive
thinking
mind
about this.
to try to communicate this. Like, words are not going to do it. Like, we need to just hive mind to find out.
Bro's onto something.
Like, just trust me, bro.
Bro, every tech entrepreneur. Kyle, what do you think the hive mind would be like? The conscious experience, would it be collective or individual?
I don't know. I was asking ChatGPT about this. There's different, I guess, models of how it could work. I think it depends on what technology is ultimately possible, and what is optimal for the goals of the hive mind. If there's some fundamental separation in the universe, like a soul or whatever, then a full hive mind wouldn't work. Like, you can't connect experiences like that. Maybe it is possible to fully connect, like neuron to neuron, like you're literally the same experience, like, the same consciousness. But then you have like insane technological problems. Like, how does a thought over here get instantly mapped to a thought over here, and it's exactly the same? There's different hardware working throughout the globe. There's like probably computers involved. Different brains literally are shaped differently. It's a huge hurdle. And then there's like the more I guess disjointed ideas where you're still experiencing like a consciousness of one body or one node, whatever, but you still have like this more universal awareness of like the going ons of the everyone else.
Yeah, there's so many different possibilities of how the hive mind can go, and it really shows like how essential it is for us to be having this conversation and guiding this technology. Otherwise, some evil tech billionaire could just like create a hive mind that is entirely Elon Musk, or something like crazy.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like we're still so far out in our understanding of like what's really like good for the hive mind and what's not. Yeah, at this point, I think just like increasing connection is important.
Between like two brains.
Yeah, in general, I think connection and the I guess stopping the loss of information is a big focus for us right now.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Man, it was great meeting you, James, but I have to go meet up with someone. Thank you very much for coming. Normally, Rishi's here, and there's sometimes this really cool entrepreneur, Skylar, and some other very smart people. We normally have more people, but today was a small week, and Rishi's in Brazil right now.
And
Wait, no
Colin
problem.
too.
Awesome.
Yeah. Colin's interested in like more politics, like
Ah.
the social stuff like that as well.
Oh, yeah, bro, you would really like Colin, James. He's at Stanford.
Oh, yeah?
You guys have a lot in common.
Really?
Yeah, you would love him.
It's awesome. Wait, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Have a good
Yeah.
one.
See you guys next time.
Sorry about my audio stuff. See you guys.